We are the way. We are the way. The men of vision. The tomorrow men. Black, auburn sun drenched, blue black. Original thinkers for original conditions. We have not joined America. We have not joined Russia, the British, the Arabs. We have not joined the faces white with death. We have not joined the enemies of the world. We are the men of vision, the history makers, the makers of history, stepping strong, forceful, unbeatable. We are the future. We are the men of peace. We know that war can only be denied if we deny breathing itself. And we look for men to fight men. Better, we look for brothers to fight the enemies of the world. Brothers, heart and consciousness and body. Brothers who understand and know the way, our way. We will recognize these brothers by the way they act and move throughout the world. There will be a strange force about them. There will be unspoken answers in them. There will be confidence and sureness in them. There will be a quiet sameness about them. These men, these brothers at first will seem strange and unusual. This will not be the case for long. They will train others, and the discipline they display will become a way of life for many. They know that this is difficult, but this is the life, the way they have chosen for themselves, for us, for life. They will be the examples. They will be the answers. They will be the first line builders. They will be the creators. They will be the first to give up the weakening pleasures. They will be the first to share a black value system. They will be the workers. They will be the fathers. They will be the scholars. They will be the providers. They will be the historians. They will be the warriors. They will be the doctors, lawyers, farmers, priests, and all that is needed for development and growth. You will recognize these brothers, and they will not betray you. We are the way. We are the way. The men of vision. The tomorrow men. Black, auburn sun-drenched, blue black. Original thinkers for original conditions. We have not joined America. We have not joined Russia, the British, the Arabs. We have not joined the faces white with death. We have not joined the enemies of the world. We are the men of vision, the history makers, the makers of history, stepping strong, forceful, unbeatable. We are the future. We are the men of peace. We are men of peace.
Let's get it. FBA. Brothers and lovely sisters, we in the building. I wanted to do this, man. I've been wanting to do this for a minute. Ain't really had the time, and but it is what it is. We're gonna get into it. You can see what the title is: FBA Nationalism, otherwise known as Black Nationalism. Reparations, Kamala, Trump, or the couch. That is the landscape of how I'll be doing this video. Let me see. First of all, that song you just heard, hopefully it don't get me flagged. But if you are FBA and that song doesn't move you, if that song doesn't do something to your spirit, if that doesn't touch you in some kind of way, I don't know what to tell you. But before I even get into the topic, I want to double back. And I know that hopefully I ain't burnt out this issue, or it seemed like I'm in my feels, kind of emo about it. But I kind of am, honestly. It kind of does, you know what I'm saying, make me feel a certain kind of way. The fact that, as I spoke about it before, let me get it. This Sonia Massey situation, to me, is a problem. It's a problem how we've been handling it. It's a problem how some of us has been handling it. It's a problem what I've been seeing from mostly trolls, keep it real, tethers, white supremacists. And the idea, let me go back, man. It's disgusting, pathetic, pussified behavior that in the midst of a sister being murdered, being unalived by a race soldier who's literally a card-carrying member of white supremacist hate group. Like, he's literally a white supremacist by virtue of his tattoos, his behavior, his affiliation. And the fact that I've seen so many, especially people who claim that they're about Black empowerment and they're conscious or whatnot. And this is where you want to go with it. Sonia Massey proved there is no power in the name of Jesus. I've done my fair share of trolling when it comes to other people's ideologies and what they believe. I ain't gonna lie, I have. But there's a time and place for that. There's a way to do that without dissipating certain energy. See, when we have situations where our people are being unalived by the police, and we distract or deflect from what the conversation should be, which is justice, which is outrage, which possibly should be turn up, by talking about, oh, we don't agree with her religion and she proved there's no power in the name of Jesus. When we do that, what we're doing is we're taking energy away from what should be a movement, not unlike the turnips that we did in 2020. See, if our people was capping and deflecting and speaking about how George Floyd should have complied or he believed in Jesus, there's no power in Jesus, so that there might not have been a turn up like that. There might not have been a display of our sentiments towards a racist system. See, if our people did that in the in the 60s, we would have never had the movement that we had. So when people are talking about dumb shit, it's disgusting. It's pathetic. It's weak sauce. Like the focus should be, the energy should be, the social media conversation should be nothing more than justice for that sister, period. Like even the police department that dude belonged to charged him with first-degree murder. That means that they know that he premeditatedly killed her. They didn't charge him with a count 2 of manslaughter. They charge him with first degree. That means they know from his behavior, maybe from his past, by the way it went down, they knew that it was premeditated. He intended to unalive her. And we have people on here talking that dumb shit. Let's get into some of these comments, man. We got people talking this dumb shit. Some people are kind of going against it, but I've seen way too many. And I've seen people who claim to be about Black empowerment doing the same thing. Look at this. Jesus is Jesus's real name. Like, we're having the conversations that have nothing to do with what actually happened and what would actually get solutions. People are acting like they don't have mothers or aunts or sisters or cousins that believe in Jesus. And God forbid, because I would never wish this upon you, but God forbid a race soldier, be they a police officer or not, grip up and upstrap on one of your loved ones who happens to be a Christian, who happens to believe in Jesus. And the only thing they may be thinking is, oh, Jesus, please help me. And God forbid that they were unalived by a race soldier like that. And you would have to see people online disrespecting and trolling because of their religious beliefs. And what really made me want to speak about this again is this. Let me play this video. We're going to get into the FBA nationalism. We're going to get into the reparations. We're going to get into the Kamala Harris, Donald Trump conversation. But I just wanted to double back on this. I wanted to spin back on this, spin the block on this right here. Because it's sad when you actually have white people. The name of this video, you can find it on YouTube, is listen to what some white people are saying about Sonia Massey video. So it's a shame when other people outside of our lineage will have more compassion and appropriate anger towards the police officer than apparently some of those who claim to be about Black empowerment or be conscious.
What white people are saying about Sean Gracie, this sinful, corrupt, evil, wicked, nasty, racist devil sheriff that killed Sonia Massey. Check out what they have to say.
When I say all cops are bad, it's because I work with them. It's because I work with them enough to know that the good cops are so few and far between, that the shit like Sonia Massey's case is so unsurprising to me, so deeply unsurprising to me, and yet still made me physically ill when I watched that video. Sonia called the cops herself because she thought there was an intruder at her home. They then went to her home, started questioning her, entered her home, were suspicious of her. Mind you, she had called them, asked her for her identification. And then when they noticed that she was in the middle of cooking dinner with a pot of boiling water on the stove to make pasta, they said, hey, can you go attend to that pot of boiling water? And then when she did that, six times, they fired 6 times into her head. As a nurse, when I say that racism is a public health crisis, I mean it. And when I say racism is a public health crisis and a lot of the perpetrators are other healthcare workers, I mean it. Because the amount of healthcare workers that I genuinely don't think even understand that there's an issue with our policing system in this country is so upsetting. But it's the truth. They fired at her 6 times over a pot of boiling water that they asked her to attend to. Her last words were, "I'm sorry." She ducked and said, "I'm sorry." I will never forget that. The whole thing is on video. And then none of the cops held the guy who killed her accountable. He stopped his partner from offering her assistance. His partner gave up. Not that it would have mattered, because 6 rounds into someone's head, beyond assistance. When I say it's all cops, I mean it. I mean it. Because we allow the most untrained, unbelievably violent and racist human beings and bigoted human beings to become law enforcement in this country.
Now contrast that to this, y'all. Contrast that to this right here. Contrast that to this right here. Our own people. Those who claim to be conscious. Mansa Musa is the name. You see, if this kind of stuff right here didn't dissipate the energy, there might have been more turn up, appropriate turn up. I know he's already been charged. I know he's in jail. He's facing murder 1 charges, but yet and still there should still be turn up. Every time there's an egregious act, there should be turn up. There has to be consequences. Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad that, justice at this point has been served by way of locking him up and charging him. But nah, the turn up got to be more than that. We can't have people out here basically justifying what happened. And notice that. Notice something that white girl didn't say, which I've even heard some of our own people say. I've heard some of our own people say that I would have killed her too, grabbing that pot of water, blah, blah, blah. But notice, you won't hear none of these white folks saying that. These good, decent white folks. I'm not talking about the white supremacists that will back anytime one of us gets unalive. But you notice she didn't say anything about how she grabbed the pot. Because if you've seen the video, you know that they told her to attend to the pot, which wasn't bother nobody. It wasn't an issue. But that was the setup right there. Even the police department seen that because they charged them with first degree. She was on the floor, but he was pursuing her to put 6 in her head. That was his intentions. If she reached for the pot, it was after he already had the gun trained on her. That may have been the only recourse of trying to defend herself that she felt she had. But she already fell to the floor. She already put the pot on the stove and fell to the ground and said, "I'm sorry," at that point. There should be no reason for you to take your strap out. So just contrast that. Let's get back.
Grayson, I hope you never see the light of day again. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google is your friend. Have a blessed day.
The worst part about the body cam footage is he set up that scene for her to be unalived in her own home. Whilst asking for identification from her, he randomly asked her to go turn off the stove so there's no fire. Then she removes a pot of boiling water into the sink right next to the stove. Then when he starts freaking out, she puts the stove in the sink, and you see her crouch on the ground, holding her head for 3 to 5 seconds before he starts. Then while his partner, who is also in the wrong, is holding the wound, trying to stop the bleeding, he's outside diddly-daddling. Once all other units arrive on the scene of the crime, you see a mirage of officers standing there in complete silence, in complete confusion. And they are all of them, including the supervisor, is avoiding eye contact with this individual. Either they always known that he's a hothead, or they're just finding out. And as these people stand there, confused as he's trying to roll out. He needs to roll out, as he said. That is premeditative. That is premeditative. He set the scene. He set the scene and he died and he thought he would get away with it. And I pray to Jesus. I pray to Jesus that he gets the repercussions that every other officer should have. Because if you're on the job and you do something wrong, you have to pay the consequences.
Now, if you've been on social media this morning, or if you've seen your news, you have heard the name Sonia Massey. You have watched her execution. You have seen the injustice. And you watched it all by policeman body cams. Now, what happened to her was wrong. She called 911 thinking there was a prowler. She was calling for help. And they executed her. Now, we've seen it all. But something's just not settling right with me. Something I don't understand.
I'm not going to hold you on this topic, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? This upsets me. How many of our own people that I've seen being disrespectful. I mean, public figures, of course, the Tethers, the Coons, the usual suspects. And then just those who call themselves being conscious, who really want to make this conversation about who she believed in, what she believed in, and not about justice, not about the police officer who unalived intentionally. I shared this on my. Let me show you this real quick. Because, like I said, this was premeditated. And you're going to hear him say that he set it up. So, like, this is just what we're privy to see. We don't know what else the police department knows or has seen that made them, because police officers do not get charged with M1. They don't. They get charged with M2, man 2. They get charged with lesser charges that indicate or imply that it may have been self-defense or not purposely done or not premeditated. He just said I set it up on purpose. So shame on y'all, because there should be energy. It's summertime. It's Black August. And I understand that sometimes these things are actually put in motion by our enemies. They're put in motion by white supremacists. Like a lot of the different talking points, a lot of different things that dissipate our energy or that spread misinformation that you'll hear our people regurgitating. A lot of times they didn't really come from us first. So I understand that this may be that. Could be some bot. Could be some trolls. Could be some white supremacist trolls, you know, putting this message out there because they understand how we speak, because understand they're in our spaces. They do follow us. They do watch us. So they do kind of know how to maneuver based on our verbiage and tendencies. That is a real thing. But anyway, I don't want to make that, you know, all about that. What I want to get into, though, what's the first one? I want to get into FBA nationalism. All right. And to do that, I'm gonna double back to a couple videos that I made, one in 2015, one in 2019. And I'm also gonna use some up-to-date stuff, Tariq Nasheed or whatnot. And the conversation is gonna be Black nationalism. It's gonna be reparations, Black nationalism. Since that's the conversation that now has been able to rise up to a level to be recognized internationally, really. I'm gonna double back to some things that I've done before, said before, and we're gonna look at this for the options that we have. A lot of people have been saying things when it comes to reparations that, you know, we'll just waste all the money. We ain't gonna do nothing with the money. We'll just give it right back to them, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm gonna show you some things that we could be doing. I'm going to show you some things that we actually could be doing, some things that actually already exist that many of us don't know about. And this is going to tie into the nationalism. But before we do that, Let me play a quick clip from a Tariq Nasheed Twitter space. And he was saying, I'm going to let you just hear what he was saying.
Niggas just want to get on street corners and yell. No. What institutions are you building? What networks do you have? Okay, let's say all of the white supremacists, just some mysterious disease popped on the country and started taking them out. And by some kind of weird fluke, it just wiped out all of the white supremacists. In fact, you know what? In Baltimore, there was a disease, some kind of airborne disease about a decade ago. And I used to talk about this all the time on my Ustream shows. In Maryland, in a county out there, there was some airborne sickness that was attacking only white people. And they couldn't figure out what it was. It was some kind of weird airborne sickness that only white people were getting, but it wasn't affecting the black people in the area. And it was a quick news story. Then they stopped talking about it. You see, they didn't want to talk about what the hell that was, but y'all can look that up. I might have to put the link up to remind you, but this was in Maryland. This was over in Maryland, one of them counties in Maryland. And this strange disease only targeted white people. Now, let's say another disease like that popped up on a massive scale and took out all the white people. Now, a Jamu and all of the Pan-Africanists and all of these people, okay, white people are gone. Now, what are you going to do? All right, what do we do now? And there's no white people. How do we keep them satellites up in the air? Because we need them satellites for our cell phones. Which one of you niggas know how to work satellite technology? All right, how are we going to keep these hospitals going? All right. Let's get it. How we're going to keep all of the hospitals going, because a lot of these hospitals, they haven't been hiring a lot of you. So how we're going to keep them going? And then some of the foreigners, many of their degrees ain't even real, so they ain't going to know what to do when the white folks ain't there. All right, so now what?
No, to be real, I don't really like the tone or the implications, but I do understand what he's saying. And it is something that, we do have to consider. But it's also something that really we do have the skills. We do have the skills to build and run a nation. And if our back is to the wall, we can pull it off. We may not have the network. We may not be networked properly and organized properly, but we do have engineers, we do have doctors, we do have lawyers, we do have people who could do different civil engineering and construction. We do have people skilled in every element of running a society. We do actually have that. Maybe not to the capacity that we need, maybe not organized as well as we should be, but I believe that if it came push to shove, if it's do or die, I believe we would do it. We can do it. But we do have to at least be considering these things, because we have to be thinking practically with how we're going to be moving, especially seeing that, we're on this reparations push. What are we going to be doing with this money? Those of us who ain't just going to just fuck it off on some Gucci and Nike and the new Harriet Tubman Ford Explorer that they're surely going to come out with, the new Frederick Douglass Escalade that surely they will come out with. What about the rest of us? What about those who are on code? What about those who understand what Black nationalism is? How are we going to be operating? Let me take it back to 2019. This is a video that I did in 2019. It was a live stream I did on Facebook. And I did this video shortly after Taharka Bey and Raw Born had a debate on Sun Editor TV. The debate was Morris science or Black nationalism, which one is better for our people? And at this point, this was before, is that what this one is? Yeah. This was like before Taharka Bey really like turned on us as a people at this point. And just I'm going to say this because I did give Taharka Bey props in this video. This is before he turned and started just attacking us every single day. And this is when you have to understand my background has been in activism for a long time before I got on social media. So to me, I wasn't familiar with the idea that people who represented Black nationalism and who represented being activists, I wasn't familiar with the idea that people would just do that and be capping the whole time. Because I came from a situation where you had to really be in the trenches, in the streets. So you didn't get out there and do that legwork, that blood, the sweat, the tears, the money that it took to get some of these programs going, or that you had to come out with your own, out of your own pocket. The hours of building and being in city council meetings and courtrooms and other areas where you have to really be connecting with the people. So I wasn't really familiar with the idea. And to me, it was far-fetched that there would be people that would be bullshitting or doing agent behavior online with this shit. To me, it wasn't something that I was ready for. Even though I've seen some people say, oh, this person, that person, this person, to me, it just didn't make sense. Like, how could you be conscious? How could you know how great our people are, the sacrifice that our ancestors made, the challenges that we have, and you would be participating in activities that would be counterproductive to our people? To me, it just didn't make sense. But anyway, let me just play some of this video, because within this video, I spoke about Black nationalism, what it means, and I even speak about Pan-Africanism. And it's gonna, you can see the background. I got the red, black, and green flag behind me on this video. I got the Marcus Garvey custom hat that I used to sell on my website. So you'll see the transition, but you'll really see I've been pretty solid the whole time. The only difference is now I understand, well, I understood it then, that Pan-Africanism couldn't even work if we wanted it to without Black nationalism first. And now I understand that it's not up to us to hold it down for Pan-Africanism. It's up to those in the diaspora that really want to be serious about it to show us they're serious about it. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and get to this. Pan-Africanism is the collection of different, I don't want to do anything that would break up any unit. One of the top ones I respect is Taharka Bey. And I know you'll see this Taharka Bey. I know you will, because we're on the friends list. You might not see it till tomorrow. You might not respond. But I know damn well you're going to see this. I know Rob Bourne will see it. I know that MBK will see it. I know a lot of my comrades will see it. And I don't want to do anything that would break up any unity that's starting to build with our people, any momentum, but let's just keep it real. Let's keep it 100. The only solution to our problems is Black nationalism. We could say Pan-Africanism, but we can't truly have Pan-Africanism without Black nationalism first, because Pan-Africanism is the collection of different Black nationalists here and abroad. Now, understand, just to be clear, Black nationalism would absolutely include foundational Black American, or the term or the idea of what FBA means or what ADOS means. That is Black nationalism. And we'll get to that definition a little bit later, but I just want you to know that if you're hollering FBA, if you're hollering B1, that is Black nationalism by definition. Our aspirations are Black nationalistic, not to be confused with white nationalists, which we're going to get into a little bit later. So I just want that framework and understanding to be understood before we proceed. Now, check this out. Like I said, this ain't no disrespect. I know some more that I fuck with. I love, absolutely love. I'm talking about in real life, not on this internet shit. And I know most of them a lot of them are sincere, despite some of this internet shit. I really didn't expect, when I seen this debate, let me just reference what I'm speaking about, on I think it was Sunday TV or Black News 101, Rob Bourne and Taharka Bey had a little debate. Now, it was a good debate. I honestly, no disrespect to you, Rob Bourne, but I honestly didn't expect you to win that, and I definitely didn't expect you to wash him. But in my opinion, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. I'm sorry, Taharka, you got washed on that one. I expected that Taharka Bey would be able to, and the subject was Black nationalism or more science temple, which is better for, our people or whatnot. I expected, not because I believe in Morris Science Temple over Black nationalism, but I expected because of who Taharka Bey is. I know he's a sharp brother. He's a sharp cat. So you can see you can see during this time, this is 2019, right? This is before I really realized what Taharka Bey was on. I was giving him his props. I think this video is actually what made him kind of turn on me personally. But I was giving him his props. And to tell you the truth, the reason why I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with that debate that happened on Sunday TV, Rob Bourne versus Taharka Bey. But I expected Taharka Bey to win by virtue of him being a Moor, and most Moors are pretty articulate and they know how to frame their argument for Moorishness or whatnot. And I've never seen Rob Bourne debate. He does have like a speech impediment. So I didn't expect that he would be able to articulate it. I fully believe, and even then believed, that Black nationalism is the way for our people over everything. I just thought, being objectively, that the Moorish person would probably be able to articulate their points better, but I was wrong. Because of that, I thought that he would articulate his point better than Rob Bourne would. Hence, by default, if I was going to be objective, I would say that I thought that Taharka Bey probably would have got him on that. Plus, I never seen Rob Bourne, do any debates, but you're going to be a beast, bro. You got to polish up on a couple things. You might have to come through Black Guy Stand Radio, but you're going to be a beast in this debate shit. Now, here's the thing, though, because we really just got to get down to the essence of things and what's really the solutions for our people. The foundations are already laid. So this isn't like a question that most of us really have to ask, but I just want to reiterate this for those that might be teetering, or for those who ain't involved, or for those who don't really realize what Black nationalism is. In a nutshell, Black nationalism is our own everything, including our own nation. So when we speak about reparations, one of the key things that we speak about is land, so that we can actually put nationhood into effect. See, a nation doesn't require land by definition, but in order to actually build, you do have to have land. So in other words, what I'm saying is we are already a nation. We're already a nation. That is just by definition what we are as a people. We're a nation because we have the same experience. We have the same collective ancestry. We have the same, ideas. And we're a nation. We're not a nation state, meaning we don't have a land that's attached to our nationhood at this point, which we can very easily have. Matter of fact, let me back up. Because in essence, we actually already do. We just ain't congregating and domiciling there as a masses. But we do have Black towns, particularly in Oklahoma, which were set on sovereign Seminole territory because of that connection. So that is a fact, just to let you know. However, land could be acquired in many, many different ways. So if you know about the Republic of New Africa, then you already know the idea of how to acquire land. But also, we can purchase land and we can turn those communities into cities if we wish. That's how most small towns are. If you look up the history of most cities and small towns, that's how they start. They start by somebody who bought some land. Over time, that land developed. I'm just saying this so you'll have a little foundation of Black nationalism and the actual goals of Black nationalism. And so you won't think that they're far-fetched. So you'll know that these things have already been established. And there's some of them are still even maintaining, but you're not going to find that out if you're watching CNN. Let me get back to the point. Let me see what everybody's talking about, man. What's up, Cushmore L? What's up, man? Oh, that's one of them exclusive things, baby. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You go to, we got some merch. This was just a little experiment type of little thing, man. But don't worry about that. We'll get all that to you. What's up, Daisha? What's up, everybody that's watching this? So I don't know if y'all fuck with Sarnetta TV, Taharka Bey, or Rob Bourne, but there was just a debate. It was called. All right, I'm gonna keep it moving because I'm just setting this up because it all connects. So we're talking about Black nationalism, we're talking about reparations, we're talking about what we can do, we're talking about the idea of land. So I want to share something that I used to share back in the day, just to let people know, because I know a lot of people aren't aware. So we speak about we need our 40 acres in the middle. We need our reparations. We need to be able to rebuild ourselves. We need to be able to hold ourselves and sustain ourselves. And a lot of people don't know that we actually already have Black towns right now. We have about 24 Black towns all over the country this very second that I'm speaking to you. And I'm going to go over a couple of them in a minute. or with this very video. So in Oklahoma alone, we have about a dozen, maybe 15, 16 black towns that are still in existence right now. Now, the populations in these towns, they range from about a couple dozen to a few thousand people. I think the most populous one is like 3,200 people. I think the smallest one was like a few dozen. And what I'm going to be going into in this video is actually something that I did on Black I Stand Radio. I just made a clip of it. And this video is going into what was called the land rush of 1889. So I want people to understand what the land rush of 1889 is. So everybody knows about the Gullah Geechee Wars. A lot of us are familiar with the Gullah Geechee Wars or the Seminole Wars. And after all that, they wanted to get us up out of Florida. So there was a deal that was made. There was an agreement that was made in the late 1800s. And that agreement was, so, you know, it's the Trail of Tears, what some people call it. But the agreement was, if enough of us went west to the territory of Oklahoma, which wasn't a state at the time, it was just territory that was owned because of the Louisiana Purchase. The agreement was, if enough of us got to the Oklahoma territory, they would give the territory to us, to freedmen, and also the natives, the red natives from the Seminole, nation. So there was okay, everybody, you guys get out to Oklahoma, you can have it. There's a particular day that on that day you can actually start incorporating and claiming your land. Anyway, just check out this video, man. Let's get it. Langston and Tallahassee were not on the live show because of technical difficulties, but will be in the archive. So if you're listening to this, then it's already in the archive. You can listen to the whole show the way pretty much it was supposed to be. So this video is from 2015. I did this when I had the Black I Stand Radio. And let's get into this. Land rush of 1889. The Oklahoma land rush of 1889 was the first land rush into unassigned lands. The area that was open to settlement included all or parts of present-day Canadian, Cleveland, Kingfisher, Logan, Oklahoma, and Payne counties of the United States of Oklahoma, or of the U.S. state of Oklahoma. The land rush started at high noon on April 22nd, 1889, with an estimated 50,000 people lined up for a piece of the available 2 million acres. The unassigned lands were considered some of the best unoccupied public land in the United States. The Indian Appropriations Bill of 1889 was passed and signed into law with an amendment by Illinois Representative William McKendree Springer that authorized President Benjamin Harris to open the 2 million acres for settlement. Due to the Homestead Act of 1862, signed by President Abraham Lincoln, legal settlers can claim lots up to 160 acres in size, provided the settler lived on the land and improved it. The settler can then receive the title to the land. Boomers and Sooners. We'll find out what Sooners mean. The number of people who participated in the land run entered the unoccupied land early and hid there until the legal time of entry to lay quick claim to some of the most choice homesteads. These people came to be known as Sooners. This led to hundreds of legal contests that arose that were decided first at local land offices and eventually by the U.S. Department of Interior. Arguments included what constituted the legal time of entry. While some people think that the settlers who entered the territory at the legally appointed time were known as boomers, the term actually refers to those who campaigned for the opening of the lands led by David L. Payne. So just in layman's terms, what that means is, like I said, you know, the idea was if enough of us went out to Oklahoma, they was going to give us the land. It was going to be our own territory. So what happened is it was sabotaged, right? So maybe they said that enough of us didn't show up. But what actually did happen, and this is where you get the Sooners from. If you're from Oklahoma, you know about the Oklahoma Sooners, the sports teams and all that. A Sooner was someone, typically white folks, that went there before they were supposed to, already scoped out their land, plotted out their land, because there's a certain day that this was supposed to go down. Meaning that you can leave on this day, and on this day is when you can actually start setting up shop. So what happened is a lot of white folks, they did that $5 Indian sabotagery type of thing where they went there early plotted out the best parts, had everything laid out and ready. So when noon came, the day that it was supposed to be open up for shop, they already have infiltrated in a takeover that kind of disrupted what the purpose of the land rush was supposed to be. So in other words, they sabotaged what was supposed to be ours by showing up early, hence the name Sooners. The University of Oklahoma's fight song, Boomer Sooner, derives from these two names. By the end of the day, April 22nd, 1889, both Oklahoma City and Guthrie had established cities of around 10,000 people in literally half a day. Because of all those people that went early. Because those were Sooners. Those were people who already popped up there early. As Harper's Weekly put it, at 12 o'clock on Monday, April 22nd, the resident population of Guthrie was nothing. Before sundown, it was at least 10,000. And at that time, streets had been laid out, town lots staked off, and steps taken forward towards formation of a municipal government, or a city, basically. Many settlers immediately started improving their lands or stood in line waiting to file their claim. Many children sold creek water to homesteaders waiting in line for 5 cents a cup, while other children gathered buffalo dung to provide fuel for cooking. By the second week, schools had been open and were being taught by volunteers paid by pupils' parents until regular school districts could be established. That means they was about that education. Now this was all right. So let me see. Let me fast forward a little bit, man. But anyway, basically these people were about their education as we're gonna have to be. You know what I'm saying? It didn't take them nothing to get some schools started, and they had to put together money to do it until they established the district. They did it. Within 1 month, Oklahoma City had 5 banks and 6 newspapers. On May 2nd, 1890. So think about it like this. We always talk about Black Wall Street, which wasn't actually a city. It was actually just a part of Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a part of a city. And like I said, we had dozens of towns, because think about it. If all of us were relocating or going to Oklahoma because it was told that we would be able to take the territory for ourselves, by the time we got there, even though it was sabotaged by the Sooners, the white folks, even though it was sabotaged and reneged upon, there were so many of us there, organically, we started just popping up with towns. So dozens of towns started popping up, many of which still exist, like Langley, Oklahoma, which has its own university. Matter of fact, homegirl who did a lot of my graphics, not this particular graphic you're looking at now, but for Liberation Minded Media and all that, she went to Langley, Oklahoma. Redbird, I ran into her brother when I was in jail years ago. He was from Redbird. Tallahassee, Boley, Oklahoma. There's still like a dozen towns. There's towns all over the Midwest. Florida, I think, has the oldest town. California used to have a black town. Georgia, Missouri, I want to say Ohio, but other spots in the Midwest. So because we were so abundant in Oklahoma, because that was supposed to be ours, that was something that, like, Seminoles. That's why a lot of that land out there is Seminole land. Because a lot of us and red natives went from Florida after the Gullah Geechee Wars, after the Seminole Wars, and we got to Oklahoma. Even though they reneged on the deal, we were so abundant up there, we just decided to start popping up towns. And a lot of that land, especially for a lot of those black towns, are on quote unquote Seminole land to this day. The Organic Act was passed, creating the Oklahoma Territory. This act included the panhandle of Oklahoma within the territory. It also allowed for central governments and designated Guthrie as territory capital. Let's get to Boley, Oklahoma now, so we can get to the rest of these cities, so we can get a little bit of more clarity on, visual and understanding of the spirit of the people who, settled these. So what I did is I just imposed a different video that I already made before that, and this is just somebody that's rolling through Boley, Oklahoma, just showing the town. But I paused it here. So listen what this says. Fact: in 1932, armed citizens of Boley, Oklahoma thwarted a bank robbery attempt by members of Pretty Boy Floyd's gang. So if you know about Pretty Boy Floyd, he was a bank robber in the 30s. And very less known history about Pretty Boy Floyd's gang is they tried to actually rob the bank in Boley, Oklahoma, which was a black town in the 30s. Now, remember, this is during the time of a depression. So what that lets you know is two things. Number one, it lets you know that even during a depression, our towns were still thriving because we were inoculated by the virtue of us aggregating or circulating our money. What do you think made Black Wall Street so prosperous? All of our needs were met by ourselves, so the money just circulated. It never left. It never left our community. It just kept circulating. So even though out in the main dominant society, they were going through a Great Depression in the 1929 to in the early 30s, we were still doing good. So Pretty Boy Floyd decided to come and pull up and tried to get at us at our bank in Boley, Oklahoma. But because they was down for their niggas, they was down for the crown in Boley, and there were armed black men, possibly women as well, who wasn't having it. So they started letting that rat-a-tat-tat loose. And Pretty Boy Floyd had to get further, man. He had to move around. So the towns that still exist in Oklahoma most likely exist because they were down to fight for what was theirs, and we have to have that same mentality. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if we're talking about reparations, what are we going to do when we get these reparations? What kind of ideas and things that we could do? Well, organically and naturally, we're probably going to be building communities. There's going to be some of us who are wise enough to be like, yo, let me go out yonder, out in the rural area somewhere in down south where the land is cheap. Let's put up our money and buy 100 acres, and we'll just start a community there. 100 acres, we could farm, we could raise some cattle, we could build some homes, we can get a well water popping. We could bring some telecommunications, and the abilities to have Wi-Fi and cable and whatever the case may be, electricity, solar if we want, grow our own food. These things are naturally going to happen, right? They actually are happening. It's just not a lot of people know. There are communities like this that already exist. But I'm saying that will probably accelerate with us getting the bag from the reparations. And that's something that we should do. But since that we already have dozens of black towns already, what if enough of us decided, let's put up a bag, let's go ahead and gather, and let's start hitting these black towns. Let's start flooding these black towns. We'll help rebuild these black towns. We'll integrate into the politics of these black towns. We'll build up a militia in these black towns, but we don't have to call it a militia. We can just call it the police department, because any town can have the ability to police itself, meaning that, we put up money. We can get the best police cars. We can get armored vehicles. We can get helicopters. We can get the best arms that we feel that we need to protect our city, because we will have to be able to do that, because at some point, as you know, it's likely that some of these white supremacists are going to try to move on our towns because they've done it before. See, what Black Wall Street fell victim of not having the ability to protect themselves. A lot of these other black towns, they fell victim to not having sufficient ability to protect themselves. So we're talking about reparation. That means that the wealth gap is going to close. That means you're going to see prosperity in black communities with black people, black wealth, black industry, black businesses, black banks thriving. And that means there's going to be probably some jealous people. So anything that we build, anything that we acquire or obtain, if we don't have the ability to protect it, we don't deserve it, and we will not keep it. This is how we should be thinking. This is black nationalism. This is survival. We can't be talking about reparations, and we need to be doing all these great things that we can do and have done in the past. It's really a blueprint that we could just duplicate and upgrade. It's not even like we have to start from scratch. But we better have the ability to protect whatever we get. All this Black Wall Street was so great. Nah, Black Wall Street could be right now. We still have black towns right now. Boley being one of them. These towns, it's the same spirit. It's a revolutionary spirit, as you're going to see. It was a, nation building, let's get away from white supremacy and do our own damn thing spirit that made these towns pop up. Boley is a town in Okfuskee County, Oklahoma. The population was 1,184 in the 2010 census and gained a 5.2% from 1,126 in 2000. Boley was founded in 1903 as an all-black town. The Boley Public School District is one of the smallest public school districts in the state of Oklahoma. For the most recent data available, it's tied with Sweetwater for the smallest high school with 15 students. For a combined district, K through 12, Boley finished first, just ahead of Clarida, which only had 58, and Sweetwater, which had 60, because Boley only had 51. Boley is also home of the barbecue equipment maker Smoke Aroma Inc. I think I heard of them, and the John Lilly Correctional Facility. The Boley Historic District in the National Historic. So that's Boley, Oklahoma, right? Let's get some other Boley, Oklahoma stuff real quick. Let me see. I pulled up some other stuff. Like it's still a thing right now. Look at this. This is just from last month. And I've actually spoke to the mayor. So the thing is, I spoke to a couple of mayors from some of these black towns years ago, because around 2015, 2016, I had a Facebook group, still have it, I guess, called Blacktown Revival Movement. And the idea was, if enough of us organized, got a bag together, we can go to these black towns and we can build them up. We can live there. We could either buy some land adjacent to the black town and build on that and add it to the black town. We could upgrade their technology. Because one thing I noticed when I was trying to get a hold of these mayors, it took me like weeks to get a hold of them, because if I didn't call at the right time, they didn't have an answer machine. They obviously didn't have a cell phone, so the phone would just ring, 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 ring. So they don't have the upgraded capabilities. A lot of these are old folks that live in these towns, because the young folks will grow up and leave the towns. And they're struggling financially. At one point, these towns were prosperous. Around the 1940s is when they started, kind of going under. And I'm thinking like, yo, fuck the cities. What if some of us are country folks? Maybe some of us want to go back to the, living off the land. It'll be healthier, raising our own food. Like if you have food, clothes, and shelter, and ability to connect to the world when you need to and do business, you're good. So some of us could be doing that. Some of us want to stay in the city. That's fine. Use your reparations, start businesses. Guess what? We're growing food. You got a grocery store in Chicago or in New York or something. Guess what? You could buy your food from us, or from those who want to be in the country raising food off a farm. You want to buy good cuts of meat that haven't been pumped up with steroids and other chemicals. Guess what? We got cattle. We got sheep. We got chicken. We got furniture makers. We have people that are producing and creating products and services. We link them up. And now we have a sufficiency and ability to sustain ourselves and not depend on others. That's what Black nationalism is. That's what self-sustainability is. That's what survival is. And these things we can actually pull off, and we don't really have to do anything that would be uncomfortable or that we haven't done before. So when we're speaking about reparations and Black nationalism, this is how we should be thinking. We should be thinking in terms of how can we self-sustain. This is the Boley, Oklahoma rodeo, which must have been, hey, look at this. Look at, man. This is Boley, Oklahoma right here, man. Yeah, man. Boley, Oklahoma. It's the black town in Oklahoma, y'all. I know this is going to be new to a lot of y'all. I didn't even find this out. I didn't even know these things existed until 2015. This is Boley. There's about a dozen other towns. Matter of fact, here's a map right here of some of them. Look at this. Tallahassee, Redbird. I met somebody from there. Taft, Summit, Reynoldsville, Vernon, Grayson, Clearview, Boley, Langston, that has a university in it. Brooksville, Lima, Tatum. So that's what? 3, 6, 9, 12. That's 13 right there. I'm just saying. We don't even have to do anything new. All we have to do is just go back to what we did in the past. We were doing this before we were as educated as we are now, before we had the technology we have now, before we had the access to monetary wealth that we have now. Come on, man. This is the movement, all right? This is Boley, Oklahoma, all black towns of Oklahoma. Look at all these towns, man. Look at all these. All these are towns. Like I said, we have dozens, right? This is about 2 dozen right here, just in Oklahoma alone. Why in Oklahoma? Why are so many black towns concentrated in Oklahoma? Like I said, after the Gullah Geechee War, after the Seminole War, there was an agreement. Get these niggas up out of here. They're doing too much. Y'all just go yonder. Y'all go west. Because remember, at this time, Oklahoma was unsettled. So they're like, just get the fuck out of here. Just go way over there, niggers, and you can just have it. So that's what we did, along with some of the red natives. But like I said, it was sabotage. It is what it is. Let's see what else we got, man. So these kind of moves can be made like right now. And yes, there are white folks that live in some of these towns, by the way. It's not all black. I mean, it's not like you said. The idea isn't no one else can live there. So there have been white folks that do live in some of those towns. There's something else I wanted to show y'all before I move on. Yeah, this stuff. That Seminole Auto Sales. So this is a Seminole Auto Sales. I guess some white chick bought a car from them. But you'll see a lot of Seminole verbiage in these black towns because, well, the nature of how they came to be and the nature of those who populated the towns. There were Seminole, black Seminole, red Seminole from the Seminole Wars, right? It's Seminole County. Look at this. 1920s, Oklahoma, United States. Footage of all black town of Boley, Oklahoma restored. This is from the 20s. Boley. Look at that. I'm telling you, man. These are the kind of things we could do. So when we speak about black nationalism, and how did these towns start? It started by somebody just buying some land, and over time, the town just developed. All right. Now, what else did I want to get into before I end this? That's what black nationalism is. Oh, there's something that, what was it? I was listening to a Tariq Nasheed space, and some dude, like, tapped in, and he was like, are you a black nationalist and this and that? What's black nationalism? Isn't that just like white nationalism? I can't find the clip of it. I don't even know if he's made a clip of it yet. And Tariq Nasheed correctly educated him on the difference between black nationalism and white nationalism. And it reminded me, and just how the algorithm works, just how it happened to happen, is a Facebook Live that I did to the day popped up, and it was a video that I did about BIE, which is Black Identity Extremists. I might make this one public. I just uploaded it yesterday just to make it easier for me to reference it. But Black Identity Extremists, if you don't know, let me go ahead and just give you a quick little education of what Black Identity Extremist is for those who don't know. Basically, anything is a Black Identity Extremist. Any of us could be that. If you're saying FBA, you could be a Black Identity Extremist. If you're an Israelite, you're a Black Identity Extremist by the definition of what they're saying. If you're a Hotep, Black Identity Extremist. If you're a Moor, Black Identity Extremist. If you're a Black nationalist, if you're anybody who wants to proudly represent your lineage, they consider you a Black identity extremist. If you're anyone who wants justice, that would be Black identity extremist. Any type of ideology that you may have that supports the idea that you come from great lineage and that you're proud of it would be considered a Black identity extremist. So within that video, I started breaking down the difference between white nationalism and Black nationalism, and that's what you're about to see right now. I hope y'all are paying attention, man. I hope y'all are thinking about this shit. So let's break this down a little bit. So if their plan, first of all, we know that BIE doesn't exist. There's no damn such thing as a Black identity extremist. We know those of us. This video is actually from 2019 as well. Who are Black nationalists, which isn't the same as white nationalists. Let's see if I still got the definition. Let's go ahead and get it. Boom. Let's get the definition of white nationalist before I even continue. I got two different definitions. One from Webster. I forgot what the other one's from. Hold on. Here we go. White nationalist. A person who supports the perceived political interests of the white population within a particular country, especially to the exclusion or detriment of other racial and ethnic groups. Now look, I didn't fish for these definitions. Okay. Supporting the perceived political interests of white okay, I already did that one. But notice the key phrase here: detriment of other racial and ethnic groups. See, it's one thing to have an interest in your population in a particular country and all that, but now we're speaking about to the detriment of other racial ethnic groups, right? Another one, definition of white nationalists: one of a group of militant whites who espouse white supremacy and advocate enforced racial segregation. His vision for the community, an enclave where residents fly racialist banners, where they're able to import enough white nationalists to take control of a town or government. These are the goals and these are the definitions of white nationalism. Notice two key phrases: detriment of other racial and ethnic groups, and advocate enforced racial segregation. So in other words, what they're saying, for the two common white nationalists, it means to the detriment of other people. It means that they don't mind hurting people. They don't mind other people going through, hardships for them to get their goals. But Black nationalists don't roll like that. Let's look at the definition of Black nationalism real quick. Let's get it. Hold up. Before we continue, we got to make this clear. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to merge Black nationalists with white nationalists. They're trying to make what we want as Black nationalists the same as what white nationalists want. And by doing that, then they're going to imply that the methods of obtaining these things would be the same. But Black nationalism, as a general definition or sentiment, is a pro-Black political and social economic philosophy to help Black people independently achieve social equality, economic empowerment in the governance of the politics within their own community. Being pro-Black does not mean being anti-white, but that the interest of Black people as a community, socially, economically, and politically, comes first in the governments of men, regardless of religious ideology or other beliefs. So in other words, just being able to self-sustain. It has nothing to do with hatred for someone else, but subjugating anyone else. It has to do with what they say we should be doing, which is pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. That's what it means. That's what Black nationalism is. It means that we can control our own destiny. It means that we put ourselves in a position where we don't have to rely on others for survival and that we can govern ourselves. That's what Black nationalism is. So I just want this understood so the language can be correct. So we don't get, lost in the sauce and, put in a category of those who are a danger, even though it is that anyway, because remember, I showed you what the COINTELPRO said. They said they wanted to disrupt the activities of Black nationalism. So if Black nationalism is a philosophy that achieves social equality, and they want to disrupt that. So that's why they send these tethers and these coons, these Tahar Bays or whatnot, who at one point I thought was cool, as you can see from the video earlier, until I realized what it was about, what he was about. They want to disrupt the activities. This is what COINTELPRO said. They want to disrupt, they want to undermine, they want to assassinate the character, they want to do all these things to disrupt the activities of Black nationalism, which is economic empowerment for Black people, self-governance politically, having pride in ourselves, having the ability to govern ourselves and to do for ourselves and not rely on others. That's what the COINTELPRO was designed to disrupt and undermine. So when you see some of these platforms that look like us, whether they're Tethers or FBA, and all they do is undermine and attack, and they have no solutions for them, for us. They have no ideas. They have no work. They have no resume of actually doing things that were productive, that are productive for our people and for our cause and for justice and reparations. Just know that they're agents by definition that COINTELPRO set forth, because they're trying to disrupt the activities of Black nationalism. That means that we put our nationalistic endeavors before we put socially and economically before we put our religions or different ideologies or beliefs. But nowhere in there does it say to the detriment of other people. Nowhere in there does it say, hey, in order to establish Black nationalism, we might have to kill some people, or it has to be to the detriment of other people, or we're going to force segregation on people. So that's important now. Now let's continue, because they're talking about the threat, right? So as we see what white nationalists are willing to do, they're making basically Black nationalism a threat, terroristic implications to those of us who just want our own. Now, these are the same people who sent us to Liberia to start a colony in Liberia, our own country, our own way of self-governance and self-autonomy. But now when we want to do it, it's terrible. These are the same people who told us that if we went to Oklahoma, we could have Oklahoma, which would be our own territory. These are the same people that told us that they owe us 40 acres each, which would be equivalent to a small country when you combined it. But now, all of a sudden, for us to actually want to materialize these things is a problem, right? Yeah, and shout out to TYT, the Young Turks, because they did a full documented representation of what the Black identity extremist is. If y'all missed that back in 2019, maybe I'll make this video, this live stream that I did on Facebook, and I just put it on Liberation by the Media. Maybe I'll make it public, because I really don't have too much time, y'all. I was going to get into the Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, and invite some people up that we can have our discussions about Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, or the couch. I just don't have time right now. Maybe we can get that cracking tomorrow. There was some people on Facebook that wanted to have, there were some Trumpers and some Kamala heads that wanted to have that conversation. And I'm just going to lay it down like this when we do this. Listen, I don't advocate for either one of them. If either of them do something good, I could accept that. But both of them are on some bullshit. We have to accept that as well. And at this point, I'm willing to go the couch if no one's going to offer something directly and specifically for us. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for pulling up. Shout out to y'all's kids. Shout out to Top Flight TV. I do got to get in motion. I got to move around a little bit. Maybe we can continue this and do the part 2 tomorrow. We can get into the Kamala Harris, the Donald Trump, and maybe we could bring some people up and we could chop it up as a family. Until then, y'all, peace.